Polenta is so versatile and can be served soft right after it's cooked on the stovetop, or it can be formed and chilled to create a firm cake that can then be crisped in hot oil. Once the polenta is cooked on the stovetop, it can be served as it is, or it can be enriched with other ingredients like chopped herbs, grated cheeses like Gruyère and Parmesan. Chopped nuts can be added, roasted vegetables, roasted bell peppers. Lots of different options to take the polenta to a new level. In this dish, I'm serving the soft polenta flavored with some freshly chopped rosemary, along with some zucchini-wrapped shrimp and olives. Another option is to take the polenta and pour it into a form like these mini muffin pans and chill them to create a base for an hors d'oeuvre, like these Gruyère polenta cups with a spicy lemon aioli and a tiger shrimp. And this recipe is on my website. Here I've taken a 9x9 baking pan, lined it with plastic wrap, and I'll pour the polenta into it to create a slab that I can then cut into desired shapes. We're cutting this firm polenta into diamond shapes that will then crisp in olive oil. Here's a dish with the diamond-shaped polenta that's been crisped and served with mushrooms and a white wine cream sauce with pistachios. And here's a similar dish where the polenta has been cut into triangles and served with crispy duck. Polenta is made with 3 ingredients: yellow cornmeal, water, and salt. For this recipe, I'm also adding grated Parmesan cheese. I'm using Quaker yellow cornmeal in this recipe, which is a finer grind of cornmeal, so it cooks quickly. If you're planning on using a stone ground cornmeal in this recipe, you're going to need to add some extra time to the cooking process because it's so coarsely ground. In a mixing bowl, combine the cornmeal with the kosher salt and 1/4 of the water. Stir to mix. Pour the remaining water in a sauce pot and bring it to a boil. When the water comes to a boil, whisk the softened cornmeal into the water, stirring constantly until it's thickened. Once it's thickened, stir in the grated Parmesan cheese. This is the point that you'd add nuts or herbs or anything you wanted to flavor the polenta with. Place a cover on the pot and reduce the heat to low. Continue to cook for 5 minutes. About halfway through, take the cover off and just give it a quick stir to make sure it cooks evenly. At this point, the polenta is cooked and ready to be served soft, or it can be poured into a form for use later. A handy trick when you're lining a pan with plastic wrap is to get the pan wet. Pour off any excess moisture and then cover it with plastic. The plastic will stick to the moisture in the pan and it'll make it a lot easier to form the plastic to the pan. Pour the hot polenta into the pan. Use the spatula to spread it out in a nice even layer. Cover the pan with a sheet of plastic wrap and refrigerate it until firm, about 30 minutes. When the polenta is firm, remove it from the refrigerator and take off the cover. Invert the polenta onto a cutting board and remove the pan. Trim the edge of the polenta with a large knife and cut into long strips. At this point, you could cut these long strips into squares or rectangles or triangles. I'm cutting them into a diamond shape by just cutting at a little bit of a bias with the knife, creating a nice diamond. To crisp the polenta, place a large sauté pan over medium-high heat. When it's hot, add some olive oil and spread it around in the pan. Carefully lay the polenta pieces into the oil and sear them on one side for about 2 minutes. After a couple of minutes, you'll see some browning along the edges of the polenta, and that's your signal to flip them over. Continue to cook them on the other side for another 2 minutes. Once they're crisp on both sides, use a fish spatula to remove them to a paper towel lined plate to drain briefly. Don't let them sit on the paper towel for too long because they could stick. In the recipe I'm including with this video, I serve the crisp polenta with some wild mushrooms. Cook some onions and garlic in olive oil, add the mushrooms to brown them a little bit, deglaze with white wine, and add some heavy cream. Reduce that and finish the dish with some chopped Italian parsley and pecorino or Parmesan cheese. In the video description below, I'll include a link to my recipe at chefmichaelsalmon.com for both this recipe with the wild mushrooms and for the polenta cups. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and are inspired to recreate it at home. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below, and I would appreciate a thumbs up if you liked it. Comment below if you have any suggestions or requests for future videos. Check out my website at chefmichaelsalmon.com for recipes, my online store with links to my favorite tools and ingredients, and information on my 2 cookbooks.